Let's take a look at my new raglan sweater called the Fir Rib Sweater. The Fir Rib Sweater is so beautiful and textured, and it's a top-down raglan, so you're gonna find a lot of really fun textures in this new sweater. I chose a raglan construction for this pattern to keep the yoke really clean, so the vertical columns just cascade from the collar down vertically through the body and the sleeves. And then you have the four locations of raglan increases, 2 on the front, 2 on the back, that feed the new textures and stitches into the yoke. So it's a really crisp, angular formation and resulting in this beautiful plush fabric. So let's dive into some fun colors, what kind of materials you're gonna need for the Fir Rib Sweater, and so you can cast on. You're gonna love knitting this sweater. I cast on with the Dijon colorway. It's such a beautiful mustard. And you're gonna notice that there's a bit of a halo in this sweater. So I used our tandem as a non-superwash wool, which is the main body of the sweater. So it's a DK weight gauge, but I held a strand of matching glow hair together with it, just to give it that extra sheen, and it really highlights all of the textures in the columns and makes this really luminous, frothy effect throughout the entire fabric. So the Dijon colorway is DK weight wool and the glow hair lace weight. And the lace weight is a little bit more shiny and it adds just a little more thickness to the overall fabric. But I treated it like a DK weight gauge overall. It just gets a little more plump and fluffy with that mohair marled. So you're gonna need a US 7 or a 4.5mm needle for all of the sleeves and the body, but always check and do a little gauge swatch. Or if you know that you're a tight knitter, then maybe go up to a US 8 5mm needle for that main fabric on the sleeves and body. And then I chose a smaller needle that you're gonna cast on with in the top. So it begins with this really crisp twisted rib collar. And on my sweaters, I did a folded hem. So it's twisted ribbing, 1 by 1, knit one through the back loop, purl one, and I love that folded collar for the twisted rib because it just gives that beautiful rounded finish on the neckline. And I chose a smaller needle for that. So in most of my sweaters, I like going down 1 or sometimes even 2. For this sweater, I went down 2 needle sizes using a US 5 3.75mm, and that makes the collar just a little more crisp, a little bit more firm and tight so that it doesn't stretch out too much when you're blocking and wearing your sweater. So that gives a really, it brings in the sweater and gives a really pronounced crisp edge to all of the twisted rib features. You can really see in the sleeve from where the texture ends and the twisted rib begins with that smaller needle that it just comes in a little bit more to make a more relaxed sleeve fit and a more fitted cuff. So one of the best ways to modify this sweater, if you're gonna modify the length or any of the edging details, is starting with that collar. You could do a shorter ribbing and you could make that half as long if you want it to be a bit more of a scoop neck, and do your folded ribbing about half as long as I did in my pattern, and that'll be a very thin, more delicate feature for your neckline. And if you want it to be thinner and not quite as thick as the double folded over collar, then just knit 1 layer. Just cast on your stitch count, do the twisted ribbing, and just do 1 layer of that ribbing for the collar, or even 1 layer of a really skinny ribbing, and that could just make a really delicate, thin little beginning, and it'll bring the collar down and make it a bit more open and scoop-necked if you like your sweaters not to be quite as long for the collar. So that's a little modification you can do for your collar and the cuffs as well. I did a really long, deep cuff for the sleeves, and you can knit that as long as you want. Or if you want to continue the textures a little further down your sleeve to your wrist, you could just do a baby cuff and just do like 2 or 3 centimeters for a small, thin finish. All right, let's look at these beautiful colors. There's so many West wool shades to play around with. For both of these sweaters, I used a matching color for the combination. So that's the same colorway of tandem as glow hair. You saw the Dijon is our mustard, matching colors. The Enchanted colorway is this beautiful blue. And I'm really amazed the transformation that the mohair gives to the fabric, because it's a beautiful glowing dusty blue on its own, but the mohairs just have a bit more of an intense saturation. So I noticed when that mohair was marled with the wool, the resulting fabric was getting that extra glow and a bit more deep and saturated tones. So really beautiful DK weight on its own, but you can really see that difference when you're adding the mohair together with it. So this is the Enchanted colorway you see in all those photos of that beautiful blue version. Such a nice, deep, soft, oceanic blue. And this was size 6. So you'll notice in the photos, you're gonna see me wearing this gold version and the blue version. This is paying attention to ease and selecting the size of your sweater. So I'm wearing size 5 in the gold version, and it's a bit more fitted. This is about 48-inch chest circumference, but my actual chest circumference is about 44 to 45 inches. So there's only a few inches of positive ease. So it's a bit loose, but not too loose. It's more on the fitted side than the size 6, the blue version you see in the photos of me wearing it. It's a bit more relaxed and more loose. So this was about 50 inches for the chest circumference, which gave me about 4 or 5 inches of positive ease. So it's a bit more generous in the relaxation of this fit. So if you like that more cozy, relaxed size and you're doubting between 2 sizes, go up a size and you'll get that more loose, relaxed fit in your sweater. And you can also try on the sweater as you knit. That's the beauty of top-down construction, is as you're shaping, you can always try on that yoke. And if it feels like it's looking a little fitted, then just keep on increasing up to the next size, because they all start really similar sizing at the top, and you could switch and go up a size later in the yoke if you decide you'd like that. So that's the beautiful Enchanted and the Dijon colorway. Some other really cool jewel tones I think would look really elegant with this beautiful texture in the sweater would be corduroy. This is our wine burgundy color, and I think that would make a really deep, shadowy emphasis on the textures. The corduroy colorway, and those of you that love pink, I think this dusty Rosvita pink would be a really nice, subtle, soft pink interpretation for the sweater. And anytime you're using a lighter tone like this compared to these deeper tones, you're gonna see the stitches a bit more crisply and more vividly because of the lighter color. It won't be quite as difficult seeing all those twists and cables and dip stitch techniques. So if you're a little more on the beginner side of sweater knitting, or you haven't done as many cabled, textured sweaters before, go with a lighter colorway, or even a really light, beautiful neutral, like this white peach color. This is gonna make it really easy for you to see all of those increases and visualize all of the column instructions in the pattern. So something like white peach or powder would be a really beautiful, delicate pink light color option. And for some cool tones, we have Dutch Sky would be a classic gray, and that light gray glow hair will just add this extra luminous quality to the beautiful wool merino. It's a really soft merino wool tandem, my favorite sweater yarn. It's soft, but it has structure to it. So it's not as slinky and drapey as superwash fibers. It definitely has a nice body to the fabric when you're knitting with this merino, but it maintains that softness. So you'll get a soft sweater, it'll crisply pronounce all those stitches, and then adding that mohair silk glow hair just liquefies and adds this ethereal quality throughout the fabric. So that's the Dutch Sky. Let's look at a couple other blues, some different shades of blue. This is one of our gray blues called Blue Spruce. And this would be really nice for you neutral lovers with just a little bit of tint of blue. I could see this color being a really nice gift knit. If you're knitting this sweater as a gift for someone but unsure what kind of colors they like, I mean, a neutral tone with a subtle tint to it I think is always nice, because it's interesting for you to knit, but it'll be palatable for all kinds of sweater recipients, if anybody's lucky enough to get a hand knit sweater from you. So those are a few of my favorites. If you want to go really bold with this color choice, I did a lime, the pickle juice colorway for the shawl that this sweater was inspired by. The fir rib shawl. You could do a bright lime version or go really bold with our Bianca. You could do yellow, or how about this, like coral would be a really fun, bold color pop to show off those textures. So pick your favorite color. We'll have lots of these kits at Stephen and Penelope. So I'll add that kit link in the description down below. If you want to click on over to Stephen and Penelope, you'll find all of these colors, and you just click on your color, and we've organized all 9 sizes for you to choose from. So every color comes in all 9 sizes of the pattern. So you could do a size 5, a size 6. It goes all the way from 1 to size 9. So just pick your size, look at the finished measurements, and the measurements you see will be the measurements of the sweater. So pay close attention when you're picking your size for a kit or before you cast on the sweater. You'll be looking at the finished sweater measurements, and I usually recommend to pick a finished sweater measurement that's bigger than what you measure your chest as, so that it's going to have a bit of a relaxed fit and ease. And when in doubt, I think it's always nice to size up just in case, so you have plenty of yarn, plenty of yardage, and you'll be getting the same amount of skeins of tandem as the glow hair for a matching mohair marl. So that's all the fun colors to choose from. The rest of the techniques will all be in the pattern with some tutorials linked throughout the pattern. So when you download the Fir Rib Sweater, you'll get some fun video tutorials as you knit along, showing you how to do that fir rib stitch. It's a really beautiful texture where you're dipping down and knitting into a stitch from below and making this longer strand. It's really easy once you see that tutorial here on YouTube called the Fir Rib Dip Stitch, and that'll be accompanied by simple twisted stitches, a simple cable cross, a 2/2 cable, and I think it's just amazing how when you combine simple stitches and just a repetitive rhythm, you can get this beautiful, elegant, and impressive fabric, I have to say. I'm really pleased with the tidy organization of those twisted stitches and columns. So that's the Fir Rib Sweater. You can check that out on Ravelry and Westknits.com. As always, those links will be linked down below in the description box, and you can get inspired by all these fun textures and see them in some socks and shawls. There's the fir rib socks. There's a fir rib hat if you want to play with these textures before doing a big sweater project. So check out all those other patterns on Ravelry, Westknits, and I'll see you in the next one.